This meeting to order. It's 1 o'clock, 1 actually. And we'll do introductions of guests. Rome, please introduce yourself so our taker will secretary get everybody's name correct and who's here.
Tony Drop with Oakland.
Dan Mylan with Mylan Supply.
Christy Forrest, EGLE non-community. Dana DeBryan, EGLE environmental health section.
And Brandon Morrell.
Dave Young with the EGLE.
All right, any guests online?
Matt Allen with EGLE.
Alan, you're actually on the agenda, I think, so that's great. All
Taylor
right.
Irwin, Central Michigan District Health Department.
Anita Lattiser, EGLE Well Construction.
Sarah Simmons, Kent County Health Department.
Ken Bowen, MDHHS.
I think everybody else is pretty standard. Okay, good. All right, appreciate that very much. Thank you. Approval of the agenda. Any additions anybody can see that they would like to add, anything they want to talk about? If so, we could just keep it to new business if you would. So then yes, it's a time. So from that point, we're going to introduce Brandon Morrell. Let's see what's going on for the EGLE update.
All right, thank you, buddy. First of all, kudos, buddy, for presenting. You presented at the non-community conference here in the last 2 days, so we appreciate it. Got a lot of great feedback on that presentation already, so kudos for that. We are in the final stages of hiring a new limited term hydrogeo for our group, so that'll be exciting. Hopefully I'll be able to announce that year. And definitely the next meeting, but end of October is looking at like our start date for this person, so.
So an actual hydrogeologist for your department.
Yep, so we have Brock, Travis, and then this new person as well.
Nice.
Yeah, it'll be, it's been much needed for a long time, so we're looking for it.
Good.
See, October 3rd, shortly here in the next few weeks, is gonna be the next exam here in Lansing. The alteration memo to the local health departments has been discussed, the one that Dana had issued. And then last but not least, our Be Well program, we're kind of wrapping up the first stage of it where we had almost 15,000 people reach out. So we're at the final stages of that initial list. There's some additional funding we're going to use to kind of do, it's really, the plan is in its infancy, but we're going to do a little more of a strategic outreach for the remainder of the money in that program. Okay, so more to come.
Good. Anybody have any questions for Brandon before we move?
I have a comment. This is Dan Mylan. Brandon, we're trying to put together a pre-test review.
Okay.
And that's Valley Farms Mylan Supply. And it will be on Friday, the 26th. And according to the list that Kathy gave me, we have a lot of them from the west side of the state.
Okay.
So that's a week or two old. We figure that it's going to run from 9 o'clock till 3, 4 o'clock. And I have it available at either one of the locations, either Valley Farms in Lansing or in Grand Rapids. It looks like from that list, most of them are from the west side. So at this point, I'm going to call them and see who's interested in attending. And then we'll have a review. Mr. King from King Well Drilling will assist a little bit on the well drilling portion. This is the point.
Good. Thank you.
Nice. How are you? Okay, so with that, we'll move on to unfinished business contractor enforcement update. Matt.
Yeah, thanks. Since our last meeting, kind of a quick rundown of it, we've sent out 7 cease and desist letters to individuals that are performing well drilling activities or advertising. Kind of runs the gamut on that. We had one consent agreement that we entered into. It became fully executed with the driller about a month ago or so. We held one informal conference with a well driller, and we are in discussions with that well driller on the terms of the consent agreement. We had kind of sent them some information on it and heard back from them and evaluating some of the requests and the discussions that we've had. And so from the enforcement perspective, that's kind of the well drilling enforcement that we've had. Kind of in our enforcement team, we did have one of our team members left, Carrie Rao, to pursue a master's degree in Wales. So we do have a open position that is on the enforcement team. So kind of going through the application process for that to fill that.
If anybody wants to know, if they want to know specifically who the action was taken against as far as after the signed consent agreement or any kind of actions, administrative actions, that's available on our website, the water well construction website.
So I'll flop on the other side of the coin. A lot of times Michigan Groundwater Associations will get called when there's an enforcement action or a informal hearing or whatever, and we'll take a look at it. And, sometimes they're not even a member. In most cases, they're not a member, not all. And the first thing we'll have to do is say, well, for us to put our resources behind you, you've got to put your resources behind us. So we bring them up to speed, bring them a mentor, and then we give them the bad news. Like a lot of times, well, I'll be real honest, most of them will shot them up there, get to a point, shoot yourself in the foot. Now, there's some stuff, obviously, that can be negotiated or maybe not even necessarily negotiated, cleared up in the course of that. But in most cases, it's like, okay, get your house in order and let's move forward. So anybody online have any comments regarding enforcement, or we'll move on to the next?
I have a question.
Sure.
This one's for Matt.
Yay.
Yeah, I just want to know, I recognize that I could go look on the website, but I figure you're here, so I'll just ask. But generally speaking, were the enforcement actions, were they more administrative or were they actually technically based? Like technical construction issues?
Yeah, so we've had some folks have been doing like a couple of them would be like master plumbers that are doing stuff beyond what their master plumbing license allows them to do. A couple of them were people that were actually unlicensed that were drilling. So it kind of runs the gamut. I think one of them may have been advertising, where they're advertising well drilling services, and that would be a master plumber advertising things that he can't, or that he or she's not able to do. So kind of runs the gamut.
Interesting. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Okay, let's move on. Michigan Groundwater Association, MEHAD, Michigan Department of Human Health and Human Service EGLE training outreach open to all. Well, obviously, training in the summertime for well drillers is pretty much non-existent as we're putting our stuff together. However, I did talk to Mike Fredericks, and at its basic, we would like to make a tour. We're gonna go to the UP, go to the upper lower peninsula, the west side, the east side, southeast, southwest, I'm not sure. Just basically bring health departments and members together to, I don't want to say air differences, but let's, what are the problems we're having with, where are the misinterpretations? Where is we're not, as a well drilling industry, we're not getting what the environmental health department is saying, or where can we get common thing? So that's kind of the plan as the winter goes forward. And of course, I'm gonna need help because I'm reaching to my board, if you haven't all figured it out, but I'm reaching deep into my board to say step up or step out, and everybody's got to kind of play a role. it can't always be the Mike and Buddy traveling show. It can. It's just, it's not helping. Yeah,
Yeah, I've got, some stuff here, actually. As far as training and outreach goes, Central Wells offered a training up to, Eagle and local health departments to drill and install a well using hollow stem methods in Muskegon, on May 14. We had about 30 people show up from Eagle local health departments. It was a really good training event. Chad did a great job of describing the drilling process and the well installation. I know I picked up some things, even like using solid stems to determine water quality at depth, to determine a screen depth, not something that I was familiar with. So, I want to thank him for letting us come out and learn. I also have pictures if people are interested, and we kind of run quickly through that stuff if people don't care.
I'd love to see.
Okay. Yeah. Chad, do you want to illustrate? I'm just kidding. Or I mean, you want to comment on these, but basically, you can kind of see the hollow stem as he's heading down now. This was after he did the solid stem work. Did a great job of like chlorinating the pipe and chlorinating everything. Really kind of took his time doing stuff. You can kind of see him here, kind of lined up, and you can see the soils. He kind of lined up that he had with the to kind of show everybody, how the sand had kind of changed and how there could be potentially some differences in quality. Here you can kind of see some of the group here as he's kind of talking about the process, what was going on. It was actually turned out to be a pretty nice day here. See him here, gluing the pipe and getting everything down there. And then took a picture of him here, doing his heavy duty or high solids grouting. So that was it was a great day. And then also Buddy offered up 2 training events for us as well, using rotary methods for drilling on June 4th and pump installation on June 12th. It was a little light on turnout. We kind of had less than 10 people, a little less than we hoped for, but the training still went really well. Buddy and his crew did a really good job of taking the time to describe what was being done and answering questions. And I know the health departments and EGLE really appreciated it. The site was down in Hillsdale County in Pittsburgh. Can see our man in action here, just describing the drilling process to some of the folks that were there. This is our better together picture, EGLE and the drilling crew. I don't know, Buddy, you want to give any commentary here on?
No, just that we were describing the PVC bits, so we understood what we were talking about.
Sure.
We're drilling rock hole, different types of bits.
And Buddy brought out a speaker system, so, we could get real close and, to the drilling process and we could hear everything. So, did a lot of preparation for it, Buddy. We really appreciate it. Could see him setting the casing here, outside. And then the second day with the pump installation, originally we were talking about a hand pump.
Yeah.
The client kind of changed their mind, but at the same time, a lot of these people that showed up and a lot of the people I talked to have never seen a pitless adapter go on. So it was a good experience. See Eric here, he's kind of showing that, you guys use basically a sample tap that's unthreaded.
Yep.
Some contractors don't do that. So he was just kind of pointing that out as something that you guys do. You can kind of see the pressure tank there, how it was pre-assembled. Putting the pitless adapter on, describing the process there. Putting the pump on, keeping everything off the ground. Good job, Buddy and his crew. And that was about it as far as, the pictures I took. But like I said, it was really good training and, I think the people that were there got, quite a bit out of it. So, I know the local health departments and EGLE really appreciate you guys as well as Chad stepping up and, teaching us something. So we appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate the opportunity. You know, the hardest part about those type of things is getting the right job where you can plan it ahead enough where, the customer doesn't have a gun to your head, they're out of water, they gotta do it, blah, blah, blah. Or you can't get on this job, so you actually go do the one you thought you would, because it's just, you can't set, so. I think it's important, and I think it's even more important as we move forward. I can see, now I'm hearing rumblings, from local health departments because of budgetary issues that staff is changing and it's a monopoly of who's going where, and what's happening. I just got off I was in the parking lot with Eaton County talking to them. They're down to 2 sanitarians that aren't going to be filled. The new H director hasn't got a clue on this side how it operates, what's going on. Not that they don't know what they're doing, it's just they gotta familiarize themselves with it. And so then that just trickles right down to the drillers. They have limited hours, they're open, they're only open 2 days a week in each office for the open to the public. And I said, you need to get that to the drillers, we need to get together. And I said, we all need to sit down and you need to tell us what your limitations are so that we can help you kind of ward off the public coming there with torches and sticks, because that's what they're gonna wanna do. And I was telling them, look, let's just get together on this. We could tell them the hours, we could say, be patient, do some more things ahead of time on your end to keep the sanitarians kind of less on the property when they are gonna say, because Eaton County goes out on it, which I like. But when you take 2 sanitarians out of Eaton Berry, you got 3 sanitarians total between the 2. And I know I'm crying the blues, but it's a little bit more populated down there than it is up in District 2 down there. So I think the training is important because as it evolves around, there's gonna be less time spent explaining, more time spent doing the things we need to do. We appreciate it. Thank you.
I know Brandon mentioned it, but this past week at the Open Bay City was the non-community conference. And like Brandon said, your buddy talked about low yield areas, but we also had the field demonstration that Dave helped facilitate with, was it B&B drilling up in Bay City? And so they set up outside in the parking lot, they had a hand pump that was working. And then an approved hand pump and the pieces and the parts. And there was 100 people standing around, taking a look and learning. It was a really great experience.
I think so too, especially when it comes to a hand pump installation, because there's a lot of head scratching that goes on with that, especially a lot of those are done for parks or for trailheads. And those types of installations, and they're done in the summertime, they're done when we're all busy, so the phone call to the driller to get an explanation back to the sanitarian it's not a very quick turnaround usually. Cause, most operations are 3 and 4 or 5 people, in the state, sometimes 2. And they're not on the phone at 11 o'clock in the morning, they're on the back of the drill rig, not answering them. So they might not answer those calls for 2, 3, 4 days. And especially on a non-community, you're waiting for approval. You're waiting to make sure that this can do and go into service. So it's tough. I understand.
And even,
That helps.
even, we don't have, sitting around full blown, 11 HD, hand pumps laying around, stabbing out buildings. So, I want to thank Dan and Glenn for, donating that and sending, Mark out to help out and bring that out and bring that. And I remember talking to Bob that day, from B&B, the driller, and I was like, really appreciate you coming out and everything else. And he goes, when Dan Miling calls, you listen and you're the one. I was like, well, all right. So we really appreciate you helping us out and having the pump and helping us line things up. It was a great experience.
Would it help if you had a demo pump, if we asked Monitor Baker, do you have a place to put it?
Yeah, we could put it out in the cage. I mean, but at the same time, it's pretty expensive unit too, so.
And all you have to do is ask.
We could talk about it internally and we can get back to you.
Yeah, let me know. I'm going to dinner with Baker in more 2 weeks.
Are you?
Yes, he lives in Battle Creek.
Oh, okay. The other thing is, as you have these health department meetings, let us know, because we might be able to facilitate
Yes.
locations.
Yeah, I think that's important. I mean, especially on the still code compliant products that aren't put in a lot. Even a jet pump.
Well, there's a lot of new sanitarians, like you could.
I think 3-4 years ago, we did that, shop talk and we did it either at. No, Steve wasn't there.
Oh, I'm thinking about Grayley.
No, it was, from Battle Creek, you guys ended up hiring him, he was a pump installer, he did most of the discussions out there, Aaron Katz. Yeah, he did a lot of the talking, obviously, we did some of it, but yeah, you guys offered up your, shops and all came in and he did a lot of the talking, but we're able to walk around the shop and look at parts and everything. I think people got a lot out of that.
More than happy with the invitation.
So Buddy, is there a plan then, or you said you were talking about wanting to
Mike and I
start
are
this
actually
week?
meeting tomorrow
Oh, okay.
at my office and we're gonna kind of put some potential dates.
Mhm.
And then, of course, we reach out to vendors for, either we get a EGLE location or really for Gaylord, or we'll do a location of a vendor where they've got some space where we can open up and bring sanitarians and drillers in, and just, talk over donuts or a sandwich or something. And just, hey, what are you seeing? What are you not seeing? What can we help you with? Where are we getting a misinterpretation? Whatever.
Well, I can share, I had a well driller just reach out and say, could we do anything to help
I think
bridge the gap between.
we're getting over that hump that John Schmidt started years ago of, you don't have to like it, but the regulators gotta be on our side, and that's just the way it is. It's whether we wanna say it or not. Being an adversary is not gonna get anybody, anything. You agree, John?
Yes, I do. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes, sir.
Okay, yes, I agree with you, buddy.
Good. I thought you would.
Well, you can discuss differences and be a lady and a gentleman. You can also go to war, and nobody wins in a war. So
Right.
it's best to avoid that.
I agree. All right, well, I think we can, if anybody has any other comments or questions on that, go ahead, but I think we'll move on to pressure switches and buried tanks, Dave.
Yeah, we're kind of a little bit of a holding pattern with this one. The electrical and plumbing sections of the residential code play a large role in this draft guidance document. The 2021 residential code was set to replace the 2015 residential code on August 29 of this year. On July 7, an order was issued by the courts in 2 cases. The Home Builders Association versus Lara. Order temporarily prevents Lara from taking additional steps necessary to apply or implement the 2021 residential code. So the 2015 stays in place until this is cleared up. Laura is actually preventing anyone from buying the Michigan 2021 residential code until things get resolved. From what I'm told, it doesn't sound like it's, I think a lot of the disagreement is kind of energy related, but there are also some plumbing things. So, Laura is actually right now, updating or trying to get updated to the 2024 residential code. So once things, I hear anyways, that it's not gonna take that long to get the 2021 issue resolved, but once that's done, the 2024 is gonna start up. So, at this point, until that 2021 issue gets resolved, I don't plan on moving forward with finalization. And obviously, we're still looking for contractors for a subcommittee when it comes to finalizing that portion of the document that we need help with.
I think when you get to that point, just reach out. We'll have Dan call him, because when Dan Mylan calls
That's
you.
right. Exactly.
So, yeah, I think, I agree with your approach, because until we know what we're looking at, we don't know how to advise or guideline somebody to, hey, this is good, this is not.
Yeah, I found out I went to go buy, like September 1st, I went to go buy the 2021 code and it wouldn't let me buy it. Now it's like, what's going on?
Yeah, not bad,
Yeah, so.
not bad. Okay, let's go right on to the best practice document, talk about that.
Okay, well, I know that, I talked to Buddy a little bit before. I've been in contact with, his name's Nathan Zanero of Oxbow Engineering. They're out of Texas. They're involved with drilling some of these Ann Arbor closed loop projects that are going to depths of like 1,600 feet. He took a look at our best practices draft legislation because, I had asked him to, and he said that the documents were good for kind of the shallow U-bend type, type of work. But it doesn't really cover the kind of deep work that they do. And I'm gonna be meeting with him next Thursday. It's the date that's tentative right now, to kind of hear what he's got to say. But the thing that was kind of surprising to me is he said that they were spudding the wells in. So that leaves me kind of scratching my head a little bit. So we'll see what they've got to say. But Buddy said he wanted to comment on that directly. So.
There was an emergency meeting called by a Water Heat Association. Friday, they had a Zoom meeting yesterday, which I was not available to attend. But I've talked to 5, 6, and I haven't talked to John yet, but 6 past presidents of the National Groundwater Association regarding this issue and the Unified Plumbing Code issue. Because of this, I've sent our best practices document, to the National Groundwater Association, to have it peer reviewed by the geothermal side there, to have them look at it. But in a nutshell, what this engineering company is trying to push, and I'll come full circle here in a minute, is basically the only people qualified to drill these deep, 800,000, 800 feet can be done by 1,000, 1,500 feet. There's only 22 contractors in the United States that could do that. All those 22, 7 only care. But we're 65,000 people short by the time 2035 gets here of being able to do this work. So Ms. Oxbow says the only people qualified is oil and gas. And oil and gas is behind this because they're looking at $100 million business a year. And so this could get real political, real quick, and with enough legislative push, EGLE would be regulated out of it, and it would be an oil and gas. Meaning the groundwater would have no say in what goes on to EGLE. So that's basically what I'm saying. So, and that's basically what he's going to tell you next week. Only he'll do it to me in a nice way, but nicer way. But I'm a little concerned. I'm concerned because they want to bottleneck it and basically rubber stamp it that all will be this way. We're gonna, everything has to be, we're gonna. And as we know, and everybody on this panel knows, there's a reason we have different regions in the state of Michigan, different people in different regions because of our diverse geology. So what application works in Monroe might not need to be applied in Marshall. Or what application is applied in Muskegon or Alpena might not need to be applied in Greenville. So, we really need, we as an industry, need to keep our fingers on the pulse of this because the company, the large company Expo behind it is Walbridge, and Walbridge is big. Big. And then you add in oil and gas, and it could get real muddy real quick. Yeah. So, I'm actually having another meeting tomorrow afternoon with a whole bunch of people from the National Railway Association, because what they're afraid of is this kind of stuff's already tried in Texas, it's tried in New York, now they're trying here, they're gonna try in Minnesota. And for the better lack of words, we need to be really on our toes. That's my opinion.
So you say they've tried in these other states, what's the response been?
So, well, there's a couple things that have happened. Statutorily in New York, they have protection. So we don't have any statutory protection here for geothermal. We have local, Washington had theirs. Matter of fact, there was a demonstration last week, if you call the Environmental Health Department. I think there was a demonstration yesterday, the week before last week, on the method that they want to use to diverters. I mean, all this, I mean, it's gonna be expensive. But, the response to answer your question is it varies on the statutory limitations of legislation that's already been passed in the states. I asked the question, do we need 1,500 foot vertical loopholes? How's the federally enhanced grout going to work that deep? They're using SDR 9 or 11, I can't remember which one's thicker. For the vertical loop pipes, does anybody know what it's doing? Joe, is it an inch and a half pipe end up being a half inch because it's being crushed by pressure? All these questions that don't have definitive answers. Okay, and I realize we're dealing, this is mostly gonna be urban areas, small footprints, but there's other ways to do it. That it can be done, so. Other geothermals.
Yeah, well, I mean, that area of the state, especially at that depth, is gonna have some unique problems.
Right.
You know, you've got a lot of really poor water quality, you've got some limestones deeper that are gonna be lost circulation, like they're gonna have some issues down there.
But then you get far enough, you're gonna have some methane issues.
Oh, yeah.
And my question is, and statement is the risk worth the reward, is the question. And the statement is, do we really need to bother the earth that deep to solve the issue? That's the question.
Well, I mean, I'm assuming at this point, they're using, you know, something like GeoPro's product that's cement based.
Yeah.
Those depths, they'd have to,
It's gonna be a cement, it'd have to be.
they have to be.
I mean, Brock Yorty could really tell you all.
Well, I mean, and getting back to that, I mean, I know the last time we met, you know, Brock was on our list of 5 contractors that we needed comments from the best practices document, and I know you said you were gonna give them a call and the other guys, and so.
Well, first, and I'll be brutally honest, I got the call from Brock and I got on my soapbox and I said, I told you guys, you need to keep your finger on this. I told you NGWA need to be involved with this. I told you MGWA need to be involved with this. I said, so here you are in a corner and you got no money and you're fighting oil and gas. How do you think this is gonna go? And when it comes down to it, that's what it is. And he was not happy with the state, but then I said, okay, I agree, we need to take this on, we need to figure out what's the best way to do this. So that number one, I said, and my biggest concern wasn't that drillers of my size are eliminated out of the process, is that the cool heads, the common head, smart heads are litigated out of having anything to say about
There's no conscience.
it. I want the dollar sign to dictate what happens.
I mean, from the beginning, Brock, as well as two folks from Midwest, which do a ton of work around here, were on the original committee, and they've been asked on multiple occasions to comment, so, I mean, if we're gonna move forward with it, and like I said the last time we were here, that, we need, we've gotten comments from local public health, from Laura, from the grout companies, but, if we're not getting input from the drilling industry, it's kind of hard to move forward.
All right, and I'm glad you put that on record, it's not like, thank you.
So Dave, what did you say you're gonna meet with soon?
The Oxbow Engineering is they're doing they basically are kind of like the designers of, of these holes and such. So he had gotten a hold of me a little while ago, and we had kind of talked about the best practices and if we had draft legislation of any kind. And after some discussions, and he took a look at both, he said he had comments, and I said, well, submit them in writing, I'd love to see him. And he said, I'd rather talk to you first. So we're meeting next Thursday.
Clarification, this is pump and dump.
No,
No, it's down and back, and it's trying to utilize a single hole versus numerous shallow.
Okay, take a footprint of 200 by 200 in a city lot. They're gonna put a building within, the sidewalk width of the road.
Yeah.
And they're gonna want you to.
a lot of these projects are U of M related, and tight some portions of their campus can be, and then also they're coming up with strategies now, like basically entire neighborhoods will be on geothermal, like DTE or somebody else would own the loops and sell the energy to the people in the homes, although they're using the property to put the loops in. So, what's that?
Would they be required to do that?
No. I mean, they're trying to get neighborhoods to kind of sign up before they would ever do anything like that, because obviously you want some buy-in before you'd invest like that, but the loops wouldn't be owned by the homeowners.
Good question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Eric,
Yeah, so you said that these were going to be spudded in? Is that what I heard in terms of construction?
that is what I was told, and that's why I said I can't wait for next Thursday.
Yeah, that would be very interesting. But then again, getting back to the whole mineral aspect of things, and you guys have this wonderful thing called oil down there and stuff like that. I agree with Buddy. I think that you've got a tiger by the tail on so many fronts there, on flowing formations, oil, gas, brackish water. I think, just in my opinion, that sleeping dog probably should just lie and let the oil and gas people deal with what they do best and stay away from that.
Well, I mean, I know we had some out of state larger scale drillers come in for project in Dearborn that failed miserably, so, and that's not that far away.
No,
And they'd be running into a lot of the same formations deeper.
yes. With the potential
Dave,
more
Yeah.
damage above.
Dave, you
Yeah.
mentioned that they want to try maybe a whole neighborhood on geothermal. There's nothing too crazy and out in left field for Ann Arbor, which happens to be my hometown. But strangely enough, just west of Ann Arbor in Scioto Township, they have done and are continuing to do a massive, and I mean massive, hundreds and hundreds of units, residential, that is pure electric. Absolutely pure electric. Not 1 cubic foot of gas, all electric.
Huh. Now, I will say that I did talk to Brock about this today. And the heat pump manufacturers are not for this. They see all sorts of red flags,
Not for what part,
the deep,
the deep,
you know, they're saying 800 was, cause it's, you're pumping, pushing down that far, but you also gotta get it back up, so they're saying all sorts of technical gremlins coming out of this process, so. So we have their manufacturers behind behind us, I should say, but again, will money prevail or will heads prevail? We'll see. I'd love to have a conference with you after that meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
If I'm out alive.
yeah. He seemed friendly. No, I don't, yeah, if you want to give me a call,
Yeah.
I certainly don't mind. I'm glad I was given a little bit more background here today, because I was looking at it more from a technical perspective as to how they were actually gonna try and get this done, but sounds like there's more to it than that.
Yeah, well, from what I understand, the oil and gas industry is on standby with bated breath, waiting for this to be kind of blessed.
Okay.
So. There we are. Anybody have any other comments on this subject? Okay, so let's move on to contractor examination information.
Buddy, I have a question.
Yeah.
Have there ever been any cases of, that's been documented of geothermal wells? I'm gonna use a kind of an odd way to say it, but like cross-contaminating upper aquifers with oil or gas or brackish water or anything like that, or maybe even EGLE team. Have you guys ever heard of that? Just because improper routing practices.
Knowledge, but I'll tell you what, I will have from my next 3 or 4 meetings, because I'm reaching out as far southwest as Oklahoma, and as far southeast as the Carolinas and Florida, and as far northeast as Maine, New Hampshire. I'm bringing in contractors that do geothermal from all those areas. And I want to hear the horror stories. I want to hear what's going on. So, yeah. So I can't answer that question.
Yeah, I think I would want to know more information about how did these impact areas that are on residential drinking water wells? And like, what is I mean, I can theoretically think through like what they might be, but is there anything documented
I agree
for that?
with you.
So I'm curious. So thank you.
It makes 2 of us. Anybody else? Okay. Good.
So, at the last meeting, we didn't have the final results for, the April 4th exam. We had some June retakes because we had some failures, in certain areas. But we ended up, with 12 new well drilling registrations, 3 of which were previously pump installers and 6 new pump installer registrations. Unfortunately, we did have a no-show due to an illness, and that person didn't make it up, so obviously they wouldn't have been someone that passed, obviously, so. For the October 3rd exam, we have 8 well drillers and 1 pump installer approved to take the exam. And the application deadline for the April 10th exam is February 9th. Which would be the one following, obviously, this one.
So I have a question, or it's more of an observation.
What's that date? That's 2026,
Yes,
February 9th.
February 9th is the application deadline and April 10 is the exam date.
Is it me, or have we had the last couple, 3 years, more people taking the exam than we
Oh,
did
definitely.
prior? And so we're seeing some transition, that's good. Good. So that's good, because that was one of the first meetings that we had, this committee was, okay, what's going on? And we're having 2, 1, none. Or moving it all to the fall, because we didn't have enough for the spring. So that's a good thing, so, all right, good. All right, roll 111.
Okay, I wasn't planning on spending a lot of time on this one, but, I'm just gonna provide an update as requested by the committee. All the background information on it was provided as part of the agenda the last time. Basically, public health, Alpha Menominee ability to permit, and I'll just kind of go through this real quick.
Yeah.
Really to permit the deepening of a bedrock well was called into question by an area driller. Deepening a bedrock well is considered a minor change under Rule 111 of the well code. And minor changes do not require a permit under their sanitary code. EGLE provided advice and support, including, said we'd help them make a map that could be created to show where bedrock deepening could cause issues. We also said, we even take part in like helping to share the information, because there's not a ton of drillers up there anyways, and meeting with the drillers that work in the area to kind of create a temporary solution regarding that. And, we said eventually you just need to change your sanitary code to include that if that's something you want to permit. At the last meeting, the health department requested EGLE look again at how extensive changes or changing aquifers under Rule 111, which would require a permit under their sanitary code, could apply here and provide additional written guidance. A group of folks from EGLE, local health departments, well drillers were contacted. EGLE requested input in scenarios when changing aquifers would go beyond, which was already stated to the health department. We didn't receive any feedback, which I didn't expect to get feedback because we've looked at the issue here and sorry. So at this point, EGLE sticking with our original advice on the situation, and that's pretty much the update.
Good, I think that was correct course of action. Sometimes, and I'm just gonna say it, local health, as hard as it is, especially with the political environment we live in, to change your local sanitary code is the hardest thing to do, But it's the only way to make the change and put the situation into writing on how it really needs to be done. And I would agree with Eagle, if you want it changed, as long as the code allows it to be changed, it's not varying from a construction standard, the local sanitary code is the way to do it if it needs to be handled locally. And I've offered to help many, I'll help you. I think you're on to something, or maybe we should look at this, but it's their issue there, not state by decision, I think.
Yeah, I mean, based on, what they had said in the past, they do have areas where if you deepen the bedrock, there is a chance there could be some issues related to back T and some other things. So,
Right.
like I said, we've made our recommendations to them, and they can choose to follow through on that or not.
Just gonna add a little tidbit here, though, we're talking about part 127 in the well construction code. However, if this was a public water supply, that's a totally different
Yes.
thing. It's need, consultation with the health department or EGLE if it was type 1
Correct.
system.
Well, this is basically
Yeah.
residential.
We're talking residential.
Type 3
we would want to
Yeah, I
at
think
least
type-
touch base with the health
Yeah,
department.
yeah.
Yes, and see what they would do under their type 3 program,
Right.
but definitely on the type 2, type 1, there would be extensive discussions about that.
Would there a type 1?
What's that?
Would there be a type 1?
Discussions, I hope so, yes, I would be expected.
You know what I'm saying?
Up there, probably not too many.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, new business. I imagine this is probably gonna be Anita. Well Logic pick list, bet night needs cement.
We kind of talked about, Anita and I kind of talked about this earlier on the day, and it got to be too late to like take it off the agenda.
Wow.
This isn't something we're gonna address today.
Okay, all right. All right, good. Other business or comments? I have one, I have one. And I was talking to Dave about it earlier. And he mentioned it in the code. Michigan currently uses the IPC, and then there's the UPC. Minnesota has UPC, Unified Plumbing Code. So if interpreted properly, the Unified Plumbing Code, I'll just cut to the chase without getting into the meat and the potatoes, is basically the only thing a well driller or pump installer could do on the property. This is residential. Is drill. Are you listening to me? Drill below. So if anybody here is bored of a UPC coming in, even though we have statutory provisions, which Dave said, just kind of keep in mind that we also have a statute that says one code can't prohibit another from, but not every state has that. So right now Minnesota's running into a problem where the UPC is being applied that basically all things piping on a property has to be done by a licensed plumber or mechanical contractor. So a pump installer can't put the pump in, pump installer can't change the drop pipe, or put the pitless adapter on, or run the water line in, or put in the pressure tank. So they're fighting that fight. And it's been fought in New York, but I don't know who won. I can't answer that question. So, just a FYI, if you hear somebody talking about it, just let's make sure we keep.
And
Not that it's important to EGLE, but it would sure be a detriment to the industry because you know, a pump installer would have, they're going out and repairing one. And that's all we would do.
and I told Buddy too that, you know, when I sit in on the plumbing, when I'm in on the plumbing board meetings, that hasn't been discussed at all, that switch. And also the residential code, they're moving forward with the most recent one. So they're in 15, they're going to 21, and they're upgrading to 24. So I don't see that happening to switch away from the base that they're using now.
Well, Michigan has always been more forward thinking and into it. Let's keep things as simple but up to date as possible. You know, most of the plumbing people that I've talked to have been on the board. They don't try to rock the boat too much, you know. As long as nobody's gonna get sick or hurt or whatever, or things aren't going bad, then, you know. Other than bad oil on pipe at one time, I think years ago, they had some bad cutting oil and some pipe that people were putting in galvanized pipe. That was probably the. Yeah, right, whatever, but I think before it, so.
I think it'd be an interesting question for Dave and NGWA. Are there any states using UPC?
Well, I'm gonna tell you what his answer's gonna be. Yeah, Minnesota, where he lives.
And have they always used it or they switched over?
10 years ago, 8 years ago, but nobody,
Enforce?
it's like $3.99. Nobody really got into it, and read the whole thing and interpreted it. And then once they kind of like the Obamacare, once we read it, after we got it and figured out what was going on, then you find out the inadequacies of the code.
Because pump installers are still. So.
Absolutely. Well drillers are still running the water service lines and putting up those adapters, drilling wells and doing all that, but depending on the jurisdiction and the plumbing inspector, you know, how are the red flags? And also on the UPC, nothing's done until there's a plan review and approved. So if the wrong inspector or right inspector, however you want to say it, gets on the job saying, well, this wasn't in the plan. This is all, even though it might be done to go. This is all, nope, we gotta go through it, review it. So they're running into those, issues.
Wouldn't they all be vetted before, if there's a conflict in two statutes between authority from one department to the next?
Here it is.
Yeah, that's what I was. So, I mean, I guess what's the concern that you're having that might occur here?
Well, because the concern is this. We want to stop the train and derail it with our own statutes before the train gets far down the track where they say, well, I think we're gonna do this anyways. Again, it depends on what's behind it. Is it gonna be a political legislative issue? Or is it gonna be a practical application? So that's one.
I mean, I think there's different trades and industries and licenses and certifications where you could have different, folks do the same job, but I don't know that it's gonna, one's gonna supersede another based on the statute.
But we'll see, in Minnesota, in some of the states, there's no pathway. So let's just take that situation. So you and I had a business, we're putting pump installs, we're drilling for 35 years. There's no pathway for you and I to become a mechanical or plumbing contractor there.
Mhm.
They're basically ruled out. Done. So they have to revisit all that over there. So it's a legislative, regulatory debacle they got going.
Why they changed?
Well, they changed it, and then they got it, and then they read it. Said, oh, wait a minute, so now the inspectors,
No, but what was the catalyst that makes the change in the first place?
it was more up to date code. It's revisited, it's, the UPC is constantly evolving, up to date. They don't make the code, then, okay, let's revisit it 15 years from now, kind of like our code. They constantly are, hey, this is new technology, this is this, let's do this with boilers, mechanicals, all that kind of stuff that maybe we don't think about in this room, but it's a constant, there's more activity in it, there's more, but it's also more convoluted, it's more elaborate. I'm not saying it's better, I'm not saying it's worse, it's just complicated. Oh, other than that, that's the only comment I have. New agenda items for next meeting. Well, obviously, everything, we can't do pressure tanks until we know the plumbing code, so we kind of maybe go over it. Best practices document, I'll have stuff back to you, Dave, from NCAA on that and let it through our stuff, so we can talk about that at our next meeting.
Are you gonna get a hold of I can resend the email to you that I sent to Jim to get a hold of.
Yes, just resend that to me, because I'm gonna be dealing with this next week. Week or two.
I had one question.
Yeah.
You know, the geothermal wells that you're talking about just the ones for just a small project. You're not talking about the big industrial ones that they want to drill that are 10, 20,000 feet deep, because they're trying to get down into the temper, you know. For the geothermal property, they're like 500 degrees that deep, and they can get that out. Is that what you're talking about?
1,500 footers.
Well, no, there's some that go like 10 to 20,000 feet, not those. Okay.
We're talking like University of Michigan Hospital wants to put it in.
Right, okay. Rather
Hundreds.
than put a bunch of holes in,
Right.
they want one, yeah, I got
Right.
you.
Right, or they'll need, for a large building, you might need 25, 50.
Yeah.
Rather than 725.
Yeah. But some of these companies go really deep to
Oh,
get
yeah.
hotter, yeah, the properties, and, you know, they're using it for energy, so it's.
Right. So, yeah,
projects, huge projects. Cause there, you know, a lot of stuff with
right. and-
AI and all kinds of different things they're looking at, you know, trying to
Oh, yeah,
get,
yeah.
Mike's got us on that.
This,
Mike?
Mike?
I just wanted to say we're all curious what the update's going to be about the 1,500-foot geo situation there. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around all of the things that could go wrong there. I don't know if you could shoot us out a little update before our next quarterly meeting, or
I'll tell you what, like, you know, I'll send something brief out after I meet with them to everybody. How's
okay.
that?
We don't need a detailed explanation.
Yeah,
Just
yep, I can do that.
all right. Thank you.
You wanna bring anything up new? Maybe we could rally around?
No, I'm still kicking some ideas around in my head.
Okay. Well, we can visit that next week.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, Buddy and I had some conversations up at the conference and some ideas for this group, so I'm gonna talk to Brandon and.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Let's vet it. kind of first and see how it- Okay. All right, other than that, I don't see anything new to, nothing's reared its ugly head. Other than the norm. Next meeting date, we gotta look at that.
3 months would be what, December 11-ish?
Then watch out for the national.
Yes, that is that week. National meeting is
Good on New Orleans.
8th through the 12th, so it would have to be the week before or the week after for me. I mean, you guys want.
18th?
That'll work. Yep, good.
Does that work? And
Yep. Anybody else have anything online? Okay. Well, we adjourn.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thanks, buddy.
Are you going down?
Thank you.
National Wastewater Conference? I'm sure you're sending somebody down there, aren't you?